I come to the David Parker or Nosey Parker report on what I call, let's tax economic income. And the graph that I've got up now, and that really hit me when I read that material 2 days ago, was of the income sources that this analysis says should be potentially available as a source of tax, that by far and away the bulk of the economic income is held in business entities. 51% of the wealth that this report would like to get its hands on is basically in business entities, businesses that as they trade and pay dividends, pay tax, that employ people. But the mischief, it would seem, that we want to attack is as you build a business, then you've got to be subject to a tax on your unrealised lift in value. I mean, the whole thing is a complete fiction, but to me, it really is a mirror on what's out of balance in terms of our economic policy settings. Of the economic income, property constituted 19%. It's not the big deal. And why is it that people would have piled into property? If you have guaranteed low interest rates for long, it's inevitable that people will, it's incentives. They will behave in an economically rational way. Right. So why is it that we had a situation where interest rates were not properly priced given the rising inflationary pressure? Look, can I just go one step back? I'm very curious about the origin of the report and the political management of it. So, within a day, you get the report, you get the shock horror, you get David Parker bathing in the afterglow of Thomas Piketty saying, this is a wonderful report. And then it's dumped on from a great height by the Prime Minister the next day. So, part of me says it's a vanity project for David Parker. Perhaps the Cabinet owed him to be able to do this and have the spotlight for a day. Or it's a stalking horse for Labor's intentions, and we'll only know that when we get nearer the election. But I think the methodology is flawed. The thinking is flawed. I mean, just take the big bulk of the so-called economic income that this report says ought to be on the table to be taxed. It's business entity income. It's building businesses. This isn't taxing the businesses once sold. This is taxing the fictional lift in value, and I assume that it would have to be in terms of symmetry the other way around. If there's a decline, maybe you get a refund. Look, to me, it's just lunacy, and it's completely out of kilter with the kind of economic story we should be building in New Zealand, which is we don't have enough capital, so why tax it? We don't have enough business building, so why attribute some fictional value to it? And we don't have enough in this country of, if you look at just us compared to Australia, where our productivity levels and therefore our earning levels are so demonstrably behind our neighbour, that we've got this huge big risk of losing our best talent to, a more agreeable economic climate. It's just boneheaded to me, and the the political management of it just has got me completely floored. It shows just a warped sense of priorities, not to address the fundamental setting, and the fundamental setting of the New Zealand economy, which is what all budgets should be about, is how are we creating an environment where people will make investments, take a risk, innovate, and employ people and grow wealth in the country. There's an old adage, no taxation without representation. And the inflation, and particularly in a time of high inflation, it propels you, it pushes you into higher tax brackets. And the revenue gets a much bigger yield with no going to Parliament, no saying why we want people on average wages to be getting into some of the top levels of tax brackets. So it's a stealth tax, and it offends principles of transparency, it offends principles of accountability, and it's a very, fiscal drag is the lazy finance minister's tool. You don't have to encounter all of the odium of putting up taxes, and yet that is what is happening in a de facto way.